Okay. For this particular presentation, we had an oil sheen test lab. This is one of the labs we took in our SATC 440 class, and this was by Landon Woolridge and Stephen Boudreau. So first, the purpose of this lab and the goal of it is to test water to see if this water can be dumped overboard into the ocean, or if this needs to be back and purified more through the process, through the different processes they have offshore. This is just a test to see how contaminated the water is with oil. So in preparation, first we have to fill a tub with water, and this serves as our test pan. So this is our platform for our test, I guess we can say. We then pour 25 milliliters of oil into a beaker. And then once we did that with the beaker, for this experiment, we used a titration tube. We took out 15 milliliters of oil from the beaker. We then released the 15 milliliters of oil 2 centimeters under the surface of the water and let it sit for about 5 minutes. And the purpose of this was to let the oil, disperse as it needed to be for the amount of oil that was in in our test platform, which is our tub of water. We did this over a 5-minute observation. Usually in the real world, this would be a little bit longer, maybe a few hours, a couple of hours, something like that. Through our 5-minute observation, we were looking to see if the oil would cover more than 50% of the surface after the test period. So our test period here would be 5 minutes. So we want to see if the oil covered more than 50% or less than 50%. If the oil covers 50% or more, the oil cannot be released into the water. This means this wastewater, I guess we can say, which is contaminated oil, obviously, would have to go back into a purifying process or separation process. This way, we can separate the oil and the water furthermore down the line. If it covers less than 50%, that oil at the concentration in that volume of water or greater may be released. So if it covered less than 50% of the water that was in this container, that means this water is good to go. It can be dumped overboard without having too big of impacts to the environment or marine life, marine species. Yeah. So in our case, we can see here for our conclusion. After observing for about 5 minutes, we found that the oil covered far greater than 50%. You can see this picture in the previous slide. Our whole tub was full of water. So we found that the oil covered far greater than 50% of the surface of the water in our experiment. So this would mean that the oil was not safe to be released. This means it would have to go back into a separation process. This water would have to be further separated, and it would be tested again and to see if the concentration of the contamination would be a little bit less, and then you would just repeat that cycle and see if it would cover 50% or not. So we then terminated the experiment and used this dispersants to dispose of the oil. In this case, we had put some Dawn dishwashing liquid in here, which is a dispersant, and if you look in that picture right there, you could see that the Dawn sunk immediately to the bottom, and it also brought some oil back with it. So this is something that you have to be careful with, because some dispersants will sink and pull oil down with it, which you don't want. You want the oil to stay at the surface. And that's our presentation. That's our lab. You can see that, as I said, our experiment, our conclusion is that the oil covered far greater than 50%. It covered the whole container. So thank you.